Welcome back to the final class in the equity cohort. I'm so excited for you all, and I'm mostly excited that I get to finalize this with you and go through the rest of this process with you. In this final course, which is Leadership for Equity and Excellence, we're going to take everything that we've been doing since ETM 501 and we're going to drill it all down and kind of mush it together and put it into a plan. So our goal by the end of this is to have an equity plan in place that we can take back to our schools, that we can present either to our principals, to our department chairs, to our equity officers, things that we have found actually have evidence for and can drill down. And what's great about doing this in the cohort forum that you guys have, especially through Clayton, is that you could do different aspects of equity issues that you have found and put them all together as a presentation to prepare for presenting those to your principals and things like that. So let's focus on Module 1 because I'm very excited about this, and I wanted to also welcome, we have one open enrollment student with us, so it'll be interesting to get some new perspectives in this course. I'm very excited about that also. So our very first module is going to be macro impacts on equity in schools. If you look down towards the introduction to the module, this is really going to be our plan of action throughout the entire course, where you have the step 1 through step 7. And we are going to be actually creating our own critical equity framework, our reflection of our framework, as we go through Module 1, and then we'll be putting pieces together of it through the remainder of the modules. So keep this in mind every time you're thinking about that equity literacy framework. You're going to be coming back to Module 1 to look at it, but it'll be right here. And it just gives us steps that we should be doing in order to evaluate inequities, identify inequities, and then move our way through actually creating solutions for those inequities. I always give you strategies for going through the module. These are just things that I like to do whenever I take online classes. So it's up to you however you want to create your flow. But I think the most important thing is that you don't try to do everything at once, that you're getting into those discussion forums throughout the entire module. So for those of you who haven't had me in a while, I typically like you to get to that very first Wednesday in a module and you do your first post. And then throughout the rest of the weeks, you continue your posts and you finish, but your attendance starts on that very first day that you post. So that Wednesday is really important to get you posting. If you scroll down, you'll see that we do have forums, and the forum link is there for you. There are no learning logs in this course. What we've attempted to do in all of the courses with my instructors is to rewrite everything so that we're nailing the topics that we need to nail, so that there shouldn't be much left over. If there is, please feel free to send me an email. If there's something additional you want to discuss, totally open for that. So just send me an email, let me know. But in our module forums, there should be all of the discussion points and topics, and it's okay to branch off and open up some new issues if you want to add to that discussion. And then, of course, there's the critical self-reflection model, and this goes back to that equity framework. And as we're doing this, we're going to be looking at just 4 different aspects of this. So identifying a bias or inequity, interview stakeholders, and notice whenever that is, it's choose 3 people whom you consider stakeholders in the issue. Preparing a short interview, just gathering information, and then you're going to write a summary of the information that you collected. Consider possible challenges and opportunities, and then imagine equitable and just outcomes for that issue. Whenever you complete this assignment, I want you to think back to ETM 501 is where you first identified an issue in your school or your school system. And what you did whenever you identified that issue is that you created a forum. You created a group of people that you were questioning to ask questions about what this inequity was or how they fit into that. Go back to that, remember that, figure out who those people were. By now you've learned a lot more, so you've probably adjusted and identified a little bit differently what that inequity might be. Maybe you've decided that's not the most important inequity that you have found in your building or in your school system. So consider that though to be your starting ground, and remember that you have already done some of these pieces. There are already things in place that you have created. So number 1, number 2, and number 3, I am asking you just to bullet a list. This is literally a brainstormed short list of opportunities. That means chances for growth, and the challenges. Those are your barriers that you may come in contact with. And then, of course, I just love number 4 because it's imagine anything. Money's not an issue, staffing's not an issue, outreach isn't an issue, parents aren't an issue. What could you do to make this right, or to solve this inequity, or to make this more an equitable place or an equitable issue, and write a brief outcomes and summary for that. So do it all within this framework. So create it as a table, send it back to me as a table. And of course, they're going to be distorted, but it's okay. Just do it. Number one, identify a bias, in that short description. Number two, interview stakeholders. And it's okay just to do it as the table, or just short blocks of what the information is. Don't overkill on this, okay? All right, so this is going to be our very first module. I will be actually posting some things. I'd like to do some online sessions with you all, just like we always do, just to encourage us to be able to talk through some of our issues. And perhaps because most of you are working in a close cohort, perhaps there are some ways that we can adjust this course to match what you need it to be in your school system. So we're going to let this first week play out. And then what we will be doing next week is I'll host our first online session next week, and then we'll kind of get going from there and make changes if we need to. But I'm very excited to have you all back. I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with.